There is no better way I know of to be inspired than to be with a community of artists and hear the struggles and the inspiration of other artists and see how they've developed in their work. So I've got a great interview for you today, and she's almost to 100,000 subscribers, so I hope you'll hop over to her channel and help her get there. Let's go talk to Emily. No, I'm not going to interview you. You talk too much. Welcome back, Minders, to the Mind of Watercolor. Glad you could join me today. Well, I've got something for you, a treat, an interview with an outstanding artist by the name of Emily Olson. And this is something I've been wanting to do for a while, is get back to my interviews. And what a great place to start. So, hello, Emily.
Hi.
Welcome to the Mind of Watercolor.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. What an honor. It's such a privilege.
You are quite welcome. You know, I'm not sure. I was trying to think before we started when I first discovered your channel. It's probably been about a year, but the way time kind of has a way of getting away from it, it's probably more like a year and a half ago.
Yeah. Well, yours was one of the first ones I found too. So one of the first when I was searching out YouTube and researching this. Yeah, I was like, wow, he knows what he's doing.
That's interesting. I wouldn't have thought that. Whenever I do searches, just to kind of, if I search for this, will I come up? I get all these other channels, but YouTube is that big mystery that,
isn't it? That
algorithm that's so hard to figure.
We'll crack the code.
Oh, I would love to. Promise you'll share it with me if you do. Who is Emily Olson? Let's talk about her for a minute. Who are you?
Yeah, my name's Emily. I am one of 6 kids. I actually have an identical twin sister who also does art. I grew up in the woods in Wisconsin, and my angelic, wonderful mother homeschooled all 6 of us.
Homeschooling is tough.
It is. But it's so worth it. We grew up in kind of this sort of a poor area, so I think my parents, they were very well educated, and my mom thought that she could just take that on instead of putting in a school that was maybe subpar. So that was their choice. And yeah, we grew up in the country. It was wonderful. I feel like I had a lot of freedom as a kid to just explore and do what I wanted. And so art just grew from that. It's been part of my life from the beginning.
When was your first experience with art?
I love that question. One of my first memories of art involves vandalism. I don't know how old I was, maybe 4 or 5, but my parents were remodeling their old 150-year-old farmhouse.
Wow.
And redoing the whole attic so they could make space for all of us kids. This was before, I think there were 3 of us at the time, my older brother, my sister, and me. And the whole hallway was just this unfinished wood structure. And I just remember taking my pen and drawing in the 2x4s, these elongated figures of Mickey and Minnie Mouse. That was my go-to at the age of 5.
Well, that's cool.
And but my sister, she was even worse. My dad had this old Willys Jeep that he was planning to restore someday. I don't think he ever actually did. But it has, the plastic windshield in the back, or rear view window in the back. And my sister decided to scrape drawings into the plastic.
Oh, no.
Yeah, she got in big trouble for that. So I don't know if we just didn't have paper, or I don't know.
Did y'all get each other in trouble?
All the time. Yeah.
Yeah. Your twin sister, you said, is an artist also.
She is, yeah. She's actually my older sister. She's 32 minutes older than me. And she's a huge part of my identity. She's just always been a part of my story. We were very competitive growing up, as you can imagine. And we are mirror image twins, so she's left-handed and I'm right-handed.
Oh.
Yeah, and she's been doing art. She knew she was going to be an artist from pretty much the moment she was.
Well, I mean, competition can be inspiring. So, I was kind of wondering that, was it real competitive, or was it, do you inspire each other? Probably both.
Well, we were real people pleasers, so we always tried to do drawings of our friends to impress them, Yeah. And there's this one photo that I drew a picture of, and Anna was jealous of it. She thought it was better than hers, and she sort of subversively ripped it when I wasn't looking.
Ooh, okay.
So we did that kind of stuff to each other. We didn't hair pull or get physical. It was all just this, sort of passive aggressive nastiness. We're way past that now.
I know you and I've talked before, and you didn't initially go into art. Talk about that.
No, we started piano lessons at about 7 years old, and that actually quickly became my passion. That was my whole life, pretty much, all through high school. Uh, and Anna too. She and I both did duets together. We played Mozart duets, and but still, art was kind of her preference, and I still loved it too. It was just both of those things were a huge part of our life.
Hmm.
But yeah, even in high school, we had a job together. We did everything together.
Okay.
We worked at a magic show for a few years,
No
and
way.
the magician quickly discovered that we were artists. So he asked us to paint these giant replicas of vintage magic
Yeah.
posters on his
Yeah.
walls. They're still
Oh
there.
my.
If you go to Wisconsin Dells Magic Show, you'll see them. I also had a job in high school playing piano at a steakhouse, and I started accompanying the church choir at like 10 years old. So
Wow.
it was always, yeah, music was a huge part of my
Yeah.
life. And college rolls around, and we're like, what are we going to major in? And Anna wanted to do art, and I wanted briefly to do both art and music.
Okay.
Quickly discovered it's really hard to double major in both of those
Yeah, I bet.
things. You know how time consuming they are. You got to practice 4 hours a day, and then you have to prepare for a solo show.
Sure.
It was, yeah. But I proposed that to my sister, and she got real upset. She's like, art is mine. That was our brief feuding stage. Yeah, I was a music major in college, and piano performance was kind of my
Mm-hmm.
focus. But I simultaneously was taking an art minor and all the art classes as well.
Okay.
So I knew that concert pianist wasn't in my future. I didn't have the passion to
Yeah.
practice 6 to 8 hours a
Okay.
day, which is what it
Right. Right.
takes. My dad, he's a very wise man. He's like, you're a fearless person. You should just go do something completely different. Maybe what have you thought about being a flight attendant? I was like, oh, that sounds fun. So I became a flight
Oh my
attendant for
goodness.
a year and a half. That's what brought me to Denver,
Okay.
and that's where I met my husband. So then, after we got married, with the recession hit. You know, us geriatric millennials. That's what we're
Oh,
called. Real attractive term, right?
yeah.
So yeah, we graduated right when the recession hit. You know, in 2008.
Mm.
So my husband, he was an engineer and had just graduated. He managed to get two job offers, which was huge, but one of them was in Dallas, Fort Worth area, so that's where we ended up going, and I had to quit as a flight attendant. But then, of course, it's like, what do I do now? So I started teaching piano at a studio. Didn't stop doing that for about 10
Oh
years,
my.
teaching piano.
10 years. Yeah.
Yeah, art is pretty recent as far as making it my sole focus, part of my
When
life.
and how did that you come back to that as a bigger focus?
My sister was also in Dallas. She was working full time in the art world. So she was a finalist in this big portrait competition. It's called the Portrait Society of
Okay.
America. And they have this huge international competition every year. And she invited me to come to the conference as her plus one.
Oh my.
That was my first time kind of attending a real art event and seeing speakers and hearing about just the passion artists have. And that conference was so life changing. Just being around passionate people who all love
Yep. Yep.
art. I was maybe completing a painting once a year. I was oil painting at the
Okay.
time as a hobby. As part of her prize package, she actually purchased me a watercolor set.
Oh,
It was my first
yeah.
watercolor set from my sister.
It's like, get out of the oils.
Uh,
You go do watercolor.
yes. You can sense the competition even
Yeah.
then, right? Yeah, so she got me my first set of paints, and then we moved to Denver after about 4.5 years in Texas. And I was teaching piano still, but just through my home in a home studio. But then I started having kids. I had two kids, and it became just increasingly hard to teach piano at home with, keep people coming into my home, also being the full-time mom of two small
Mm.
children. So I had to kind of drop off my piano studio, which was honestly kind of a identity crisis for
Was
me.
it?
I didn't know what I was going to
Yeah.
do. Yeah.
Yeah.
But as that was happening, as this was transitioning out of piano into other things, other stages in life, I was painting more, and I started attending my sister's Wednesday night figure painting group. So there's a group in
Okay.
Denver headed up by two of the best artists in the world, in my opinion. They are so kind, so generous, and they host It's kind of a closed group for artists in the area. Every week they would
Wow.
get together and paint a figure model from life. And
What a resource.
I know. So my first time going to this, I was 8.5 months pregnant with my son. So
Oh
big
my.
whale walking in, and I hadn't painted from life since college. So, it had been a while. I was a bit rusty, but I pulled out
It's
oil paints.
intimidating.
Yeah. Pulled out my oil paints and started painting. And, when you have nothing to lose, honestly, that's when you have some of the best paintings, right? I hadn't painted in
It is.
years, and I
Yeah.
had a killer painting that night. And it was such a big win. And I thought,
Oh,
wow,
fun.
maybe I can do this. So
Yeah.
started
Yeah.
painting some more and started an Etsy shop, doing more with watercolors. And I was actually getting commissions from friends and family asking me to paint their kids. So that's really
Yeah.
when it started to take off. And I started to think, okay, I could actually be an artist. Up to this
It
point,
sounds
Anna
like
was
it
the
fit
artist.
more with your yeah, fit sounds like it fit more with your life at the time too
For sure.
than
And
piano.
yeah, and even the watercolor itself, I chose that not just because it was different from my sister, but I had kids at home, and oil paints are messy. They take a long time to dry. I, I had a big painting that sat in my basement for years with a handprint on it from one of my kids. So I
Oh
mean, you can
man.
cover it up, but
Yeah.
that's it's just messy. So watercolors can be cleaned up.
Yeah.
They're so versatile. Can just stuff them in a shelf, get them out of the way, and the kids don't get into them.
Oh yeah. Well, with 5 kids, I'm well aware of the we can't have nice things syndrome, you know.
Yes, it's so real. The struggle is real.
So, when did the YouTube channel get on your radar?
Well, so my husband, another big part of my story, he was an engineer and very unhappily so.
Oh,
He's a free thinker, a creative. He loves designing, and engineer jobs tend to pigeonhole you. They put you in this
okay.
position, and unless you're climbing some corporate ladder as far as management or whatnot, there's very little you can
Yeah.
do creatively. So he switched to sales, thinking that would be better, and he was good at it. They weren't bringing in any new leads for him, so it was just
Mm.
unreasonable, and we were living off of
Oh,
a base salary. So he actually was the one who suggested the YouTube channel. And because, I was like, I
hmm.
can't go leave the house, leave the kids, work a full-time job somewhere, Costco. I can't do that. I want to be here with my kids. That's one of my highest values,
Yes.
is to be present for
Right.
them. And he understood that about me. So he suggested, YouTube is really a great platform. It's evergreen
Yeah.
content. People can continue to
Right.
search for it, and you can build an audience. And he knows I like to be a performer. I've always been that way with piano, with the magic show I worked at. So, kind of knowing all these things about me, he gently pushed this forward and said, hey, what about this? And I was open to the idea because previously that year, this was in 2019, I had posted a little time lapse video of this little bear I had painted, just a 30-second speed paint on Pinterest because I was trying to
Yep.
draw
Yep.
traffic to my Etsy store. And that
Okay.
thing just took off. It got like 200,000 repins, which for me was
Wow.
a ton. So
Yeah.
people were asking, hey, do you teach this? Is there a slowed down version? And so that's what got me thinking, okay, I could actually teach this. I could take what I know about teaching and apply it to watercolor. Let's give it a go. So this was in November of 2019. My husband quit his job. We were totally jobless, and we had some savings to live on, but it was basically like, okay, we got to make this work or else. Yeah. No, so he actually had some other side hustles going. It wasn't like we had no income at all. He sells products on
Okay.
Amazon, very entrepreneurial mind, and he was going to help me with the website. He basically taught himself to code. So he's also my IT guy. He's my sauce.
Awesome. I wish I had an IT guy.
His is pretty great.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. So we started watching videos. We watched all the YouTube videos about how to create a channel, how to do keyword research, and all the things Um, and I took a
Yeah.
crash course on Udemy about editing in Premiere. I already had Photoshop skills, which was really helpful. but didn't know anything about
Good.
video editing. So
Hmm.
yeah, within 2 weeks, I had filmed and put out my first video and was really aggressive at
Nice.
the beginning. I was doing 3 videos a week, which is crazy.
Yeah, that's stress inducing right there.
Oh yeah. And I had to squeeze it in at nap time. Like my son was still taking naps and my daughter was in school at the time, thankfully, but I still had my son at home. He wasn't even in preschool. So I had to squeeze it all in whenever I could, which
Yeah,
is it's
yeah.
hard.
Yeah, it is. And I know that one too. Not with kids, but with another career.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes, you were doing 2 at once at the same time, weren't you?
Yeah, I was doing two for about 3 years. I was doing both things at once.
And it took a while to get comfortable in front of a camera. I mean, was that the same for you? Did you have a hard time just sitting in a
Very much.
studio
Yeah.
staring at a camera talking to nobody?
I felt very weird. I feel pretty comfortable now, but yeah, definitely it was just I was like, is there somebody listening? I want to check down the hallway to make sure.
Oh, I still make my husband put his headphones on. I'm like, don't listen in. And he does sometimes, and it drives me nuts. He'll be like,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
sound
yeah.
like you're performing again. Just be natural, Emily. But it's something I've had to learn
Yes.
and just work on over the years.
It's interesting you come to that because that was actually a big revelation to me. I can't try to remember what I was as a put on. I just have to be myself because otherwise, it'll be different every time and I
Yeah.
won't remember. So it's like
Yeah.
just be natural. I don't even like scripts personally. I don't have anything against them,
Uh-huh.
but they just don't work for me.
Yeah.
I wish they did actually, but yeah, and I just try to be conversational and yourself.
Yeah, that took a while. Takes time to figure out. And I think I posted a video 2 years later after starting my channel, just reacting to myself because I can't watch that video, that first video. It just drives me nuts. Like, who did you,
Yeah,
what were you trying to be?
I did that too. I did the same type video last year. So I know it's just
Did you?
hilarious.
I need to go back and watch that. Yeah.
No, no, not really.
Yes, yes, I do.
I saw a really cute video you did with your kids. I don't know if it's the only one, but it's the one where they kept interrupting you.
Yes. Yep. That one's
That was
what, two
just
years ago
adorable. I was
now.
absolutely adorable. But there's probably a lot of YouTubers out there like you, that have other things going on, and it's like talk about that for a minute. I mean, talk about what it's like. I don't know how old your kids are now, but what's it like right now being a mom,
Yeah.
and how do you juggle all of that? You
Oh
know?
my goodness. Well, it's gotten a lot easier as they get older, for
Okay,
sure.
yeah,
Yeah, my kids
okay,
right now, as of this filming, are 8 and 6, and my
okay,
son is in kindergarten, so it's our first year having them both in school full time, which is amazing. But yeah, now it's so much easier. They actually can be quiet when I tell them to. Imagine that. But I have a studio which is
yeah,
literally right next to their bedrooms. So right over
okay,
there, I
okay.
have their bathroom and their 2 bedrooms are right there. And so mom is the first person they ask for anything. So-
Yeah, I bet. Well, yeah, they're at a good age, and I think you'll manage just fine since you've managed
yeah.
probably worse already. So,
Yeah, finding that balance when you have work at home is really tough. We both of us struggle with it.
hmm.
My husband works downstairs. He has his own office, and both of us
Okay.
just have a hard time kind of unplugging and pulling away from our work. And
Hmm.
so something really great that we've implemented finally this year was we did hire an editor, not for my YouTube
Nice.
channel, but for my full length tutorials. So that's
Oh,
a recent
nice.
thing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I may
Upwork,
have
it's
to.
amazing.
I may have to pick your brain on that someday. Yeah, because I think when we had talked before, you mentioned you were doing, you have your membership classes, and we'll talk about that in a few minutes.
Yeah.
I was trying to process all of that you were doing. I was thinking, how does she do that for your membership classes? And that sort of thing. That would almost be essential.
Yeah, I don't know how I did it before,
Yeah,
honestly. But yeah, I was editing pretty late at night, almost every night. So
yeah,
yeah, it was not sustainable and not healthy for our family. So it's been a good change, and One of my, like I said, one of my highest values is to spend quality time with my kids and make sure that they know they're loved and that we're present for them. And so, yeah, as business owners at home, that's one of those things you have to make some
Yeah.
sacrifices, whether it's paying for an editor or whatever it is,
Right.
to make sure that you have your time for your kids.
Yeah. Did you have trouble finding an editor that suited you, or was it a pretty easy process?
No, it was actually really smooth. We
Good.
had, I think, like when we posted the job, 30 responses. So the hardest part was just narrowing it down.
Hmm.
But we did a few interviews and yeah, quickly settled on someone. So yeah, it's been
Good for
great.
you. Good for you.
I highly recommend.
Yeah. Maybe. I'm kind of in a reverse trajectory than you are. I'm kind
Yeah.
of coasting towards my retirement years, so I don't plan on soaring too much higher than I am. But, I do have some plans. I don't want to, but I don't know. We'll see. I would love to have an editor, but I actually enjoy the editing so much.
It is fun, yeah.
Oh, it is. It's probably the biggest surprise of YouTube for me.
Yeah, your
There are
edits are great.
times.
I was actually just starting to watch your video you posted a day ago, and the intros are so delightful. They always make me
Oh,
smile.
really?
So well edited.
Well, thank
Yeah,
you. Thank you for saying that.
I
That
really enjoy that.
that's encouraging.
It is interesting how it seems like your story into YouTube is kind of the opposite of mine. Mine was sort of mid 30s necessity, career change,
Yeah,
and yours was I need to do something different than what I'm doing
yeah.
now as I transition out of.
It's too early to retire. I still need income. I'm so tired of what I had been
Yeah,
doing, and
yeah,
so
yeah.
yeah. But it was a godsend, nevertheless.
Mhm.
And there's what I love about it is and we'll kind of turn this back to you to see if this is true with you. Is there's so many opportunities that I feel
Yeah.
like I just don't have the time or energy to follow up on. But if I want them, they're there.
Yeah, do you get emails constantly, like every week, just asking, "Hey, what
Yeah,
about, do you want to do this?"
or just
Yeah,
ideas, ways of making extra income and
yeah.
with the same thing, using YouTube as a platform to promote it. So, talk about your school since we're on that subject.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, Watercolor
Uh,
Mastery membership,
yes,
something
my
or other.
husband had this design for me. Wasn't that sweet of him?
Yeah, great.
So we thought, okay, if we're growing an audience on YouTube, this we need to have somewhere to send our audience if they want more. So we started this online school, and it's kind of like a Patreon, but it's our own website,
Yeah, yeah.
where we host all of our videos. And my very first day that I launched this course or this site, I only had 5 full length tutorials on there. But we set a date. We're like, we're going to launch it on this date. And I scrambled to edit these videos. I think I had a tiger tutorial and a chickadee and a couple others. So 5 videos. And I got 1 sign up on my first day. So what a boost that was. That just made me
Nice.
realize, okay, this could actually work. There's
That's
people who
good.
want more. They want to learn more.
Yeah,
So that's where we host all of our full length tutorials, and it's just really grown and expanded. I think I have over 500 videos I've uploaded on there now, which is insane to think about. Um,
wow.
and so my
That's
husband helps me now with that.
yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot. And he is constantly researching. He's my researcher too. And he decided that, well, he's the marketer. So, as the guy who has to figure out how to talk about what we do, he thought, um, wouldn't it be great if we could talk about painting consistently? And he said, what if we did a video every day? I'm like, oh, what?
Who? Yeah, who are you talking about there, hubby?
Where's my clone? Oh, where's my sister when I need her? Oh, she doesn't paint
That's
watercolor.
right. Ideas are
Um,
cheap, right?
yeah. So no, we started implementing this thing called the daily challenges, and they're just 20-minute tutorials, so little bite-sized, one subject matter, all variety of subjects.
Cool.
And we
Cool.
launched those July of last year, and
Yeah.
just 3 a week at first, because I mean, yeah, that's a
Yeah.
lot too. So 3 a week, and
I don't know how you
this is
do it all
actually
still.
I know it's crazy. But as of this is kind of new information, but we are going to start doing 5 a week within the next couple months. Yeah, kind of filling in those holes just so we have consistent every weekday. Something new pops up on the screen when they log in.
Wow.
So
Wow.
my members are amazing. They're so supportive of each other. We have a private Facebook group and gosh, such amazing people. And they're all just great artists too. So consistent,
It sounds
practicing
like you're
every
giving
day.
them yeah, that's great. It sounds like you're giving them their money's worth too. So, I've seen a variety of stuff. You do a lot of pets, you do a lot of animals. You also do some great landscape. But what inspires you the most about watercolor? Is it the medium itself and just a variety of
Mhm.
subjects, or are you like honed in on one thing that's your passion?
Wow. Yeah, watercolor is it's so unpredictable, but it can be controlled. And I think the
Yeah.
challenge of learning how to control it has been fascinating to me. I think as a kid I was very intimidated by watercolor and I never had tried it even, like
Mm.
other than like Crayola. I my first medium was colored pencils, but my mom used to get these flyers with artists' work that were for sale. You could buy prints, and Steve Hanks was in these.
Oh
And
yeah.
gosh, oh gosh, he's just my all-time favorite.
Okay.
And even as a kid, I just remember studying these paintings and thinking, how did he do that? How did he do
Yeah.
that?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
so amazing. So I'm very inspired by his work, and I love that realism. I love it. It's fun for me to look at something and see how closely I can capture
Mm-hmm.
that to the real thing, but also use some of those fun, splashy elements of watercolor in kind of unexpected ways surrounding that realism. So that's what I love to play with, and I I do love all different subject matter, but I am mostly drawn to probably landscapes and animals and people. Um, I'm
Okay.
not a flower painter. Well, I shouldn't say that. I have some flowers back here, but
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
are more of a struggle for me, for sure.
Oh.
And I'm
Okay.
in awe of your trees, honestly. If I can
Oh.
paint some trees like Steve Mitchell someday,
Oh, you
I'll have
could.
arrived.
You could. You know, you could.
I don't know. Those are just so good. I love the
Oh,
spontaneity and
well, thank you.
freedom that you paint with.
Yeah. Well, that's
But yeah, I'm
interesting.
inspired by nature for sure.
I think what I first saw, had not seen anything before, was a pet portrait. And there are a few people doing them out there. I guess not a lot. I thought yours were really, really good. But there was one landscape that literally blew me away. I don't think you've ever shown it on YouTube. It was on Instagram of this
Oh,
whole
really?
this whole big rocky cliff.
That's the one back here. I can show you.
Yes,
Let's
please.
see here. This one?
That one, yes.
Yeah. We're on a cruise.
That's a jaw dropper right there. And I think you said
Oh,
on
thank you.
Instagram you entered it into something.
Oh, that one was in Splash, 23, or not
Nice.
23, 20 something. It was in Splash a couple years ago, and yeah,
Okay.
what an honor.
Are they?
Yeah.
I need to ask you about Splash since we're talking about it.
Yeah, they're still doing it. It's a competition every year.
Yeah, I know the competition is going on, but they're not producing the hardback books anymore, are they? Because I can't find
It's
them.
a magazine. Yeah,
It's a
it's a magazine
magazine
now. So they
now.
do make a publication, and
Yeah.
they'll send it to you, and you can buy them, I
Okay.
think. But
Yeah.
yeah,
They. I knew they were changing something. I don't know if you know who artist Lorraine Watry is. She
I
gets.
do. She's
Yeah.
so good.
I was. We were like trading comments, and she said that it was continuing, but that the publisher was stopping. I guess the books. I used to always buy the
Okay.
hardback book.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
those are totally worth buying. Such a
Yeah.
wonderful collection of the best watercolorists in the world,
Yeah.
truly.
I've never
But yeah,
entered
that
Splash.
was
I really wanted to, but it's just kind of gets shoved to the bottom of the list.
yeah, it's a hard balance when there's so many goals you have as an artist, right?
Yeah.
Especially if you want to continue to grow as an artist. And it's actually on watercolor ground on a hardwood board.
Oh.
So I painted with 3 coats of ground, and then it has this almost oil painting like texture to it because
Yeah.
I just didn't smooth it out at all. I made it very brushy.
Painting on watercolor ground is very hard to layer, isn't it?
It's definitely a learning curve. It's a different style or approach you have to take with it.
Okay. Well,
Yeah, it's
I've
hard to
painted
describe.
on watercolor canvas, and I've painted on, is it aquaboard? Ampersand's aquaboard.
Hmm.
Both of those
Yeah, I would say it's
are
a lot like that.
yeah, both of those I think are a form of watercolor ground, but I've never primed
Yeah,
anything myself with watercolor ground.
but I haven't had time. I didn't enter anything last year. No time at all for that.
Yeah. Oh, I know. I mean, I've had ambitions to join watercolor societies. Still have not
Yeah.
joined a single one.
Uh,
Enter contest. Still have not entered a single one. Part of me
uh,
doesn't care. Part of me thinks, "Oh, what are you doing, Steve?"
hey, that's a great goal for the future, right?
It is. Speaking of the future, do you have any irons in the fire you want to talk about, or are willing to talk about, or not
Yeah.
really? Just continuing with what you're doing.
Definitely continuing with the YouTube channel, and I'm hoping to expand it more into a lot of outdoor painting and plein air adventures, and because I love to hike and just be outside,
Yeah.
uh, and for me, it's really interesting to watch more storytelling style videos and vlog style videos. So I think those are really fun
Yeah.
to do and to edit. So I'm hoping to make more of those, and I'll continue to teach here and there too, and do product reviews because those are fun. But this year, yeah, there's a lot of events coming up. I'll be going to the Portrait Society again. I've been volunteering every year for the last 3 years.
Nice.
So I get to attend the conference and just hang out with artists all week. And for
Yeah.
me, it's like the number one inspiring event of the year. Just being with artists. Love it. So I'll be there, and that's in May. And then end of May, there's also the PACE conference, or it's called the Plein Air Convention and Expo, and it's here in Colorado this year. So,
Yes. Is that the Eric Rhodes
gosh,
one?
yeah, yeah.
Oh man, you are so
Yes.
lucky.
You should come out. It'll
I
be a great
know.
time.
I know. I know. It's tough for a number of reasons, but yeah, I've
Yeah,
wanted to
yeah.
go to one of those for a while. I think they were in Tucson. I think they've been in somewhere in California, and
Yeah, Santa Fe, I think last year.
yeah.
This was their 10th anniversary. So I was so honored to be asked to be a field painter this year. And I mean,
Oh,
I
that's
honestly can't even believe
outstanding.
they asked me to be there. So I'm
Yeah,
like, what?
that sounds like so
Yeah, so
much
I get to
fun.
hang out and paint and talk to people. I mean, how much
Absolutely.
better can it get?
Absolutely. Wow.
So, and my twin sister will be there also. She's also a field painter.
Yeah.
So, just a bunch of my good artist friends hanging out and painting together. It's gonna be
Well,
great.
yeah.
Yeah, so that's all coming up in May, and then
You got to make some
I'm
video.
hoping. Oh, yeah, I definitely want to. Hey, I'm gonna come and see you. I'm gonna come paint with you.
Yes. Yes, viewers, we are going to collab sometime in June. We'll be more specific about that when it gets there, but yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
by the way, thank you to the viewer who commented and recommended that we do a collab, because it was directly because of that comment that
Right.
we are here today. So
That's
thank
exactly
you.
right. We'll have to go look that person up. Yeah, this whole
Yeah, yeah.
collab was due
Let's
to
do credit.
one comment on your channel, and then yeah, a viewer said, "Please, please collab," and sure, why not?
Yeah. If I didn't do this with other artists, I'd just be, again, stuck in my studio all day by myself. So,
I
mm,
really realized how much I missed that. When I was doing a stream with Liron recently, we didn't think 2 hours had gone by. Put it that way.
I
So
watched the whole thing and I painted you guys.
yeah, that's so great. That is so great.
I'm so sorry. I gave you like a double chin. And poor Liron, he looks like a Russian
Don't be
mobster.
sorry. I mean, it's there.
But
I can grab it.
sorry, that was fun though.
It's when it starts talking back to me, that's when I'm gonna worry. But probably one of the greatest periods of my development was when I was working with three other illustrators. We had a business idea, which I won't get into now. But just we would meet every week, and I mean, I learned so much just by sitting with those guys. They were talking about what they were doing. I was talking about what I was doing. They would bring in stuff, and it was like, I never thought of going this way or that way. All that just to say this is very important, and I want to
Oh,
do
yes.
more
If
of this.
there's any theme of this interview, I think it would be find some community, find people who are passionate about what you
Yes,
love to do, and get together with them and do it together, because that is how you're going to grow and stay
Yes.
excited. And
Yes.
it's just so important.
Well, here's a neat question for you. What do you know
Uh-oh.
now as an artist that you wish you knew? And I'm talking about the art specifically, not necessarily all of life, but
Yeah.
in being and developing as an artist, what do you know now? It can be several things that you wish you had known when you first started out or first
Hmm.
started getting serious about art. Let me put it that way.
When I first started getting serious about art, yeah, I would say it's okay to break rules
Good one.
and just experiment and have fun, because I think I'm very much a rule follower.
Okay.
I've always been such a good girl. I just did what I was told. So I think going back, if I could tell my younger self one thing, it would be experiment more and play. Once you have the basics, then you can just explore. And I wish I had known that sooner.
That's
And
true.
I
There are
still
so
tell
many.
myself that now.
Yeah, yeah. There are so many purists, I would call them, in different genres
Yeah.
and media that say it should be done this way. Those are the rules I particularly don't like. I mean,
I hate that word, should.
yeah, it's
Uh,
true that there are some rules that pertain to the archival nature of art that should be
mhm.
followed, and the intermixability of art. I mean, Leonardo da
Yeah.
Vinci, he's a great example. He experimented so much to his detriment. Archival problems, like
Yeah. I
the
would say
last
that's
episode.
best practices,
Yeah,
though. Again,
that's
it's
right.
not like,
That's right. Those are best practices. But there are purist rules out there, like transparent watercolor is one of them. And I'm
yeah.
fine with somebody who wants to just totally limit themselves to a particular way of painting watercolor. That's fine for you if you want to do that. You know,
Yeah.
don't
It's
have
funny.
to.
I can apply this to something I used to worry about when I was teaching piano too, was that I had kind of this classical training, right? And you have this upbringing of, you learn the rudiments, you learn the scales, you learn to sight read a very certain specific way. And then I had students. What was I after here? Trying to impose a rigid structure on my students that they had to follow? Or was I trying to teach them the joy of music? At some point, you just have to say, hey, play, experiment. Otherwise, you're going to lose the joy. And
So
that
true.
is never worth it.
I preach it all the time. Oh yeah, you're absolutely right. I'm gonna just interject my um, what I wish I'd known, and that is,
I'd love to hear that. Yes.
yeah, that is that it's possible to learn. There was such an emphasis when I was a young artist on talent, and I was so stressed out by that, and sometimes really bothered by it when I couldn't do
Mm,
something. I thought that meant I couldn't do it forever. What has amazed me over the what is it now, 45 years or more in art, what has amazed me is how much you can learn. And I
yeah.
wish that somebody had been there to tell me, don't worry about it, you can learn this, you can progress.
Even as you're older, so many
Yes.
people think, oh, I'm past a certain age, it's impossible to learn that. And it's not true.
No,
I mean,
it's not
I didn't
true.
start watercolor till I was in my 30s,
Well, there
so
you go.
it can be learned.
Yeah, and I have people subscribing to my channel and leaving me comments all the time that are 10, 15 years older than me. They're saying I'm just now starting.
I
70s,
love that.
80s. Yeah, I was a gentleman who was actually a patron who's 91, and he's just starting.
Wow. Those are goals, right?
Yeah,
If we can continue to learn at 91 and be excited and passionate
right.
about something new.
Well, if you're, I think if you're excited about learning, you're going to learn. You're going to learn more. I feel like I'm I could just spend the rest of my time learning and not really care whether I produce something that's frameable or not. I feel like the more I learn, the
Yes.
more I have to learn.
And that's a different mindset, isn't it? It's a complete shift from a fear mindset of needing to sit down and paint something that's productive, that's actually worth showing someone, versus just doing it for the love.
Yes. Yes.
And wow, your life is going to be so happy if you can see things that way. Oh, that's fun.
Well, Emily, this has been just a blast. a delight,
Oh, so
and
fun. Yeah.
I'm looking forward to doing some plein air with you in the future. We'll keep people
Yay,
apprised of
me too.
that.
I will. Thank you so much for having me on your channel. What an
You're quite
honor.
welcome. Quite welcome.